Gavin Lux out for the year?
Yeah. Where have you been?
Oh, I didn't know he was out for the year. I just
Are you
saw that
kidding me?
flash
We're
across my
really
TV.
starting the pod where you stay something that was announced like 10 hours ago.
Torn ACL, guy.
Oh, I didn't know it was that
Yeah,
serious. I thought he sprained something.
Yeah, no, he's cooked for the year, unfortunately.
Done.
Yeah. I do feel bad for him. But anyways, okay. So
it's a good organic start to the show.
Wait, it is organic. That's true. Because I saw you like hesitate. You're like, should we not start yet? Because you just saw the news. I was like, what just happened? Yeah, Gavin Lux is out for the year for the Dodgers after like his knee just went a completely opposite way than it should have yesterday as he was rounding second, going to third right before he got to third base. Unfortunate for the Dodgers, but thankfully this is a Mets podcast and it is episode 49, I Bleav in Queens. Myself, Wardy, alongside Anthony Recker and Joe Serralo. And spring training has begun, folks. We finally have some baseball games to, not dissect too much, but at least discuss, our raw thoughts on the first impressions here in spring for the 2023 Metropolitans. So that's exactly what we'll be doing here live, or of course, wherever you get your audio podcast. So make sure to smash that like and subscribe button, rate, review, all that great stuff. Really does mean a lot as we'll be covering the Mets all off season long, and especially once the regular season gets rolling. We'll be covering it after every single series, recapping and then previewing the upcoming one. A lot of content coming here for the Bleav in Queens show. A lot to get into, especially on the kids and Ronnie Mauricio and Brett Beatty. That's going to be a big headliner in this one. But before we get into it all, make sure to smash those buttons. And of course, have to let you all know that today's show is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports betting needs. So make sure you head over to BetOnline.ag using promo code Bleav at BLEAV. That way you get yourself a 50% off welcome bonus. BetOnline, it's where the games begin. Now, folks, let's officially let the show begin. So my question to both Rec and you, Joe, I'll start with you, Joe. When you think of number 49, the Mets, who's the first player that pops in your mind?
Oh, that was his number, right? I had his shirt. John Neese.
Yeah, I'm thinking there's one other, but Neese was the first guy to pop in my mind. What about you, Rec?
I don't think I have a good enough knowledge of Mets historical, timeline to answer that.
Fair.
I mean, of course, Neese, I caught him a bunch, but what number did oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. He was a closer, Tigers.
Valverde?
He was with me in 14. What? Yeah, Valverde. What number did Valverde wear? I think he was like 50 something. Was he 49? I don't know. He couldn't have been because Neese was on that team. Yeah. I don't even know. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. No idea.
Another one that popped in my head too. Benitez was 49, right?
Armando Benitez was number 49 before you were born, Tyler.
Yes. Okay. So I did know that one. That's the only two that I could think of off the top of my head.
How about Philip Humber?
That was six-finger Armando Benitez, right? Didn't he have six fingers?
Wait, what?
I wouldn't know that.
I didn't know that. I mean, Benitez was like
just trying to remember if it was him or if it was another guy with the Mets at one point. I think
Benitez was one of the best closers in baseball.
Yeah, look it up. I think he had six fingers.
I will look that up.
Grant in live chat says Josh Smoker. That's a name that
Smoker was 49. Yep. Philip Humber. Tyler, do you know the Philip Humber significance?
No.
Might be a little before your time. He was part of the deal for Johan Santana.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Him, Carlos Gomez.
Nice.
He was part of that package.
Okay. Tyler Bachelor. I remember that name as well. That was another Mets reliever for a hot minute.
Todd Hundley. Didn't he have the Mets home run record? Wasn't he tied with Beltran? 41 before Alonso shattered it?
I Bleav he was.
Yeah. 49. Not too many in Mets history. Benitez probably the most notable. Benitez and John Neese.
Yeah, I figured that this would be a fun part of the pod going forward. I don't know why we haven't really done it sooner. Like last week, I, of course, was joking about episode 48 not being regarding Jacob deGrom, but something that I do on my other podcast all the time is on the number. We just think about right off the riff, the first player that comes to mind, jersey history-wise for that team. So next week will be, episode 50. So we'll talk about that one then. But guys, all right, so let's get into it. I don't know, again, exactly how much everyone not only you guys, but everyone watching the show has been following along screen so far. But there's some big takeaways. And the first one that has been full-fledged that we expected is the usage of the pitch clock and how batters only have around, I think it's 7 to 8 seconds, per pitch that they see that they can lock eyes with the pitcher. I mean, we saw a Braves game, one of the first spring games of the year, end just tied when they had bases loaded, full count, because the guy didn't lock eyes with the pitcher in time. Then we saw it today, actually, earlier on in the Mets loss to the Astros. One of the Astros batters had that same issue happen, and it was a called strike 3 for him based on the automatic strike zone. So I guess my question for you, and I'll start with you, Rec, is do you think that this is going to be something that will be an increasing problem throughout the year, or do you think the players are going to be able to adjust fairly quick, not only from the batter's point of view, but also the pitchers? You think of guys that take their dear sweet time, like Karinchak for Cleveland, for example. I mean, he wasn't even able to ask for a ball, and the clock was still going, and then he was charged with a ball because of that. So let me just hear your raw thoughts on that overall and how it's looked thus far in spring.
They are supposed to be able to ask for a new ball, and the clock is supposed to start over again. Now, if they sense an abuse of that rule, then they can just kind of null and void the whole clock restarting. So it's like the quarterback, sitting back there, fresh 20, and they don't get it. Basically, I don't think this is going to continue on into the regular season, at least not much. I think by the time we get there, most of these kinks will be out of the way. My fear is that it rears its ugly head at the wrong time. But that said, look, it is what it is. This is what they're going with. There's no stopping it. I was on a rules meeting with MLB Network the other day. Everybody was on there, from Bob Costas to, Eduardo Perez and Steve Phillips. And it was crazy. Like, it was kind of funny, like being on that call and then hearing Bob Costas's voice and being like, whoa, I'm on a Zoom call with Bob Costas. Like, I could just go, hey, Bob, what's going on? It's crazy. But yeah, no, I think as far as, they relayed to us, it was literally, this is what it is. We're not stopping it. We're going to enforce it. And there's not going to be any like tinkering along the way. There's not going to be, we're not planning on changing things around mid-season if something isn't working right. These are the rules. We're sticking to them, and that's it. So yeah, no, I don't see it changing, and I certainly don't see it continuing to be a problem because the players are just going to have to get used to it and do it because it affects the game. It literally affects the game. My problem with the way it's structured right now, and I heard I was on MLB Tonight the other night, and Bo Porter was comparing it to. He compared it in our meeting call to the shot clock in basketball. He compared it on the show to the play clock in football. The problem with that is those sports inherently have a clock associated with the end of the game. And so having a clock make sure you stay on pace, it ensures competitive integrity. But in baseball, having the pitch clock, it does nothing with competitive integrity. It's all about just the aesthetics of the game, and therefore, penalties associated with it against the game that interfere with the game, a ball, a strike, a balk, whatever. That's tough. Like it's different. That's a completely different. That does not exist in other sports. And so, to me, because baseball is not a clock sport. Even though there is a clock in it now, it's still not a clocked sport. Like you could play forever. And because of that, there's still something to it. I like it. I like the pace of play. I like that it's faster. I like that the games are ending sooner. When I'm doing pre-post at some point again, I'm going to love that the games are ending earlier. Like that's fine.
Yep.
But I do worry that something's going to happen throughout the course of this season and others where it's going to be like, whoa, okay. That was unnecessary because you don't want a game to end under the circumstances like we saw with Boston and Atlanta.
Do we know for the postseason? Do we know if this rule is still intact for the postseason or if this is a regular? Yes. It is.
Yeah.
So it's not going to stop.
That's where I would be a little worried is if we get to October and we get to the playoffs and it's the 9th inning and a count starts off 0-1 or, a 3-1 count becomes 3-2 suddenly. Because someone's not ready, or vice versa. If a 2-1 count goes to 3-1, like I don't like it for the playoffs. I love it for the regular season. I will.
Well, and the thing is, you assume that if these guys are going to do it all season long, that come playoff time, things will just move faster anyway.
Right.
So there's not a need for it. That said, I guess I understand the idea is, look, if we're doing this, we're all in, and we can't segregate. We can't say that the playoffs are that much more important than the regular season by saying we can't do it in the playoffs, even though that's what they do with the Ghost Runner.
Right, exactly.
I know.
That's a great point.
I know. It's
I didn't even think of that one. That's a fantastic point. I mean,
it's interesting that that's the line they've taken, and I get it. I do, but it's like you've already said that the playoffs are more significant in the fact that you aren't allowing the Ghost Runner out there. This isn't that much different. The fact that you're penalizing someone for, maybe not getting in the box in time, at least competitively, is just weird. So, yeah, I mean, I'm glad that I'm not a part of it anymore. I'm glad look, if I had to, I'd make the adjustments. I'd be fine. But there's going to be that, like, there was that one time for me in AAA where I got strike 3, boom, you're out. And I'm like, what the, like, I'm literally trying to get set in the box. My foot wasn't getting in, like,
right.
But there's nothing you can do. And what's funny is the clip today, I wasn't watching the game live. I had other stuff going on, but I saw, a clip of the Astros batter. Was it Diaz? Got called strike 3. And, they were on Lindor at the time. He was mic'd up. He was talking. And then, it happened kind of in the middle of that. And then they went back and they showed like a replay. And I don't know if this was accurate, but it was at like 10 seconds and the batter was staring at the pitcher. So I don't know like when the violation occurred, but it didn't look like a violation according to that.
Yeah, it didn't.
I don't know.
It was a surprise. Yeah.
So
it was very weird in that instance because I agree. When I was watching, I was like, what is going on here? And that's something
wait, was there a runner on base there when it happened? Because if there was a runner on base, he's supposed to look up at like 12 or 13, right?
Right, because then the clock goes from 15 to 20 if there's a guy on base.
Yeah, and I think he's supposed to look up 5 seconds earlier. I didn't even think of that until now.
Maybe that's why. So, okay.
Yeah. Man, I don't remember if there was a runner on or not. Because like I said, I wasn't watching live. I just saw the clip. So
yeah. And again, in my opinion, at least, I do like it for the viewing pleasure, especially at home. I think for me, the biggest debate, and this is just about the pitch clock as a whole, because throughout spring games on average, they have been right around a half hour faster than the normal baseball game in all the years prior, which again, as a baseball connoisseur like myself, I don't mind games being long. However, watching at home and again, doing what I do, doing post games after almost every game, I do enjoy that, especially when it's going to be later night games. That's where it's going to come in clutch for sure. For me, at least, and I wonder if you guys would feel the same or different, is the actual at the ballpark experience is what I think I'm not going to like about it. At least for me, I'm in a unique situation. I don't live by Citi Field, so I have to take a little bit of a hike just to get there. And now you're telling me that on average games are going to be a half hour faster when, yes, I'm going to be watching the entire game, but you also want the experience. I'm going to go and probably spend at least an inning somewhere getting food, getting drinks or whatever, talking with some people. And then before you know it, the game's going to automatically be going faster than how I initially would like it to just, again, enjoy the ballpark. I'm going there for more than just watching the game at the end of the day because Citi Field, it is a nice atmosphere. There's things to do there. So, Joe, question you, how do you feel about that exactly too, from the viewing experience at home to what it will be like more than likely at the ballpark itself?
I actually like it, and I kind of think that you should like it even more than I should. Back when I was living on Long Island, I mean, I could get home from a Met game once I hit the highway. I'd be home in like less than 30 minutes. I would think for someone like you, Wardy, or even like you, Rec, going out of state, like I would think it would be better to get out of there at 9:30, 9:45 instead of 10:30 when the game starts at 7. I would think you guys would actually like that more. My thing is the reason it doesn't bother me, if you're getting there at 7, or maybe if you're running late, you're getting there 7:30, I would understand why it would bother you. But I always got to the ballpark, 7:10 game, gates open at 5:10. I'm there at 5:10. So it's already a pretty long day. I actually kind of like it. It wouldn't bother me at all. I always do the food and stuff, see people before the game starts. And then once first pitch happens, I'm in my seat and I'm probably there the rest of the game. So I kind of like it. I like the pace of play being sped up for TV purposes. I think we all agree it's perfect. And, when Rec's doing the post game, it's going to really come in handy.
Huge. No,
Friday night Apple
I agree
TV
with
games.
Yeah, no, I don't want to be there again till 1, 2 in the morning. I'm good. No, I like literally. I agree with both. I understand both of your points. Like I understand being at the ballpark and wanting it to kind of be a longer experience, but I also understand like as a dad with kids, like we get there and it's like I may have a certain amount of time that I can have them locked in or focused or awake or whatever it may be. And so the fact that the game moves a little bit faster might help. The other thing, and I saw an article on this, I thought this was pretty funny. How is this going to affect beer sales? Like, they stopped beer sales in the 7th, and now like we're talking about that being pretty much 20 minutes earlier. Like, that's 20 minutes of beer sales of $15 beers, like $20 beers, whatever they are. I don't even know.
That's going to be quite the hit when you really think about it.
It's funny. Like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Gonna get more people buying two at a time.
Yeah. Oh, you better get up there at seventh inning and buy like 8 of them.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Because then you talk about some advertising. I always thought there was an ability for baseball to do more bottom line advertising throughout the course of the action, like in between pitches or, like boom, pop things up, and just new ways to make money and bring in revenue through advertising, like regional networks, yada, yada, yada. We see some of these ones, some of these places going out of business now anyway. Bally's apparently broke and AT&T is broke and like they can't pay to keep their contracts. So it's interesting. I think there's going to be ramifications that last and that we're not even thinking of, that Major League Baseball isn't thinking of. And we're just going to find out, throughout the course of the season, how everything kind of, molds together.
Yeah, I like.
You know what I want to see? Sorry, Tyler, just from a gambling perspective, because you see obviously the sports books, they all advertise with all the professional leagues and teams. I wonder if there's going to be like an over/under, especially when the season starts in April, of pitch clock violations, like over/under 2.5 pitch clock violations in this game.
Yeah,
or just about the basic game. Just about betting, like, is the game going to be over under 2.5 hours? Like that is 100% going to become a thing, I think.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like that's a tough one. I feel like betting on the time of the game is a tough one, but the number of pitch clock violations, that might be an interesting little prop.
Okay.
It'd be interesting, like if you had like some of those Mark Burley type pitchers, the guys that just got on the mound. And there's gonna be guys that take this rule to an extreme.
Yep.
It's gonna be interesting. Like you're gonna have some under 2-hour games again. Like it's gonna happen, and we're gonna be, what the heck?
It's gonna
be Max Scherzer, I think he's already come out and said how much he loves it, and it's funny because Quintana today was saying how much he didn't like it.
Yeah, now you're being me to the point, Joe. I was gonna say, speaking of pitchers, let's talk for a second about Quintana, because if you looked on social media today, you would think that Jose Quintana, is the worst pitcher on the planet Earth, as we would expect, because he gave up 5 earned runs in 0.2 innings for his first outing of spring. And that kind of, led me to this discussion here, because his response, as Joe, you were about to allude to, was that, yes, he's not really comfortable with it yet, something that he needs to still get acclimated and adjusted. And he's in a unique situation where I don't know exactly how I feel about it from a fan perspective. He's going to the World Baseball Classic, so he might have one more start before he goes to the WBC representing Colombia. The issue, though, is that this is a guy that's trying to get acclimated to the new rules with the pitch clock, to then going to WBC for at minimum a couple weeks, where that's not the case. The pitch clock is gone again. So it's back to normal rules for the WBC setting. So there were, again, a lot of fans that weren't happy with his performance today. And again, I don't blame him. He didn't look good. He gave up a lot of barrels. He gave up a bomb. He gave up some doubles for sure. But again, it's the first outing of spring. So my question to you guys, though, is to see him like this. Let's talk for a second just about hypotheticals, okay? Because he came off of a great year, his first All-Star year in at least a decade in the bigs, right? And his numbers were phenomenal. He was the best starter in all of baseball last year in home runs per 9. His home run rate was ridiculous, was not giving up bombs at all. So let's say that entering the season, at least one of him, especially him, we'll stay on the topic of him, really doesn't start out too well. How long of a leash do you think someone like Quintana should have in this rotation should David Peterson perform extraordinarily all throughout spring like he did in his first outing? Scoreless 2 innings, 25 pitches, a handful of strikeouts. Again, I feel like I know the answer to this, but
he's not going anywhere, Tyler. It's one spring outing. Come on.
No, I'm saying hypothetical. I'm saying to try to play devil's advocate a little bit for the fans out there that think that the sky's already falling with him.
Is it that slow of a news week?
Yes, it is. It's the first week of spring. What
I don't
else is there
know.
to
Rec,
discuss?
Rec, what do you think? I don't think there's a shot in hell that Quintana's not in the rotation all year.
Yeah, well, what this comes down to is the only chance that they would literally replace Quintana with Peterson in the rotation is if it was getting very late in the year and it was a problem and they were maybe struggling. Maybe if they were struggling to win, maybe if they like really hit a big skid, they were under 500, they were looking up at the division, like then you could see some changes like that being made. But aside from that happening, which none of us I think foresee that taking place, that would be the only way. I will say this, and this is not like Tyler, I know you're not saying that Quintana is going to have a bad season. And if you look at his overall, numbers throughout the course of his career, 3.75 ERA, regular season. Oh, it's over a 5 in spring training for his career. If you look at some of his best years in the big leagues, I think it's like 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
Right, and then again this year, and I think 21, those were actually his worst springs. Or last year, I'm sorry. Those were actually his worst spring trainings. His best spring trainings were his worst years in the big leagues. It's really funny. Like if I was just having fun with it earlier today, like because I know it means nothing. And so look, I know when these guys go out their first time, it's literally okay. I'm going to try to throw my fastball for a strike. Whack. All right. Well, I'm going to try to throw a breaking ball for a strike here. Whack. Like dead center, like off the batter's side, like we saw today. It happened. Like as a catcher, I'm getting into the mode of pitch calling, and I'm trying to understand what he wants to do, but I'm not even calling the game like it's a regular season game. Like this is literally, there are going to be times throughout this game where I go, hey, first batter, we're going to go out there, we're going to go change up, heater in, backdoor cutter, just to work on the sequence. Like We're just going to work on it. And so it's not, you can't take this at all, like even a little bit seriously. And I'm not even talking about now, like as spring training progresses, like, as you get a little bit closer, maybe we could talk about it, but it's just funny how, these spring training games can be overreacted to by many. And it really is like, it's comical because it means less than nothing. Like the fact that he got rocked means nothing. Yes, if he goes out there and the first day of the regular season gets rocked, that it still doesn't really mean that much. But that could, at least you could go, okay, well now it counts and it's not happening. Like, let's go. But still, like, I mean, there's a reason that players say it all the time. Like, it's control what you can control. You got to just wash the bad days, move on to the next day. Baseball's a mental game, like yada, yada, yada. Like, it's about the process, going to keep doing what I'm doing. It's going to be successful. Like all those phrases, they're actually rooted in something. And it's because it's the truth. Like that's how you have to think about this game in order to be successful. If you think about it any other way, you're going to be screwed. So it's just, again, part of the process.
Here, one thing I want to say here quick, Joe, and then I'll let you take is my only takeaway from that rec is that you're saying that Quintana is going to have his best season of his career yet. This is what the spring training.
I hope he continues with this spring. Outing.
If he could, I think last year he had 11
he has 100
spring training.
ERA this spring.
I think he had an 11 in spring training last year. If I'm remembering what I saw correctly,
okay, I believe you.
It was only like 3 starts or something crazy. But last year was by far. Yeah. Well, and I will say this about Quintana. I think the expectations on him are a little bit higher than they should be because last year was his career year. He's not going to have a sub 3 again. Like it's not going to happen.
I think he's going to have a 3.5 at minimum.
It's like he has a 3.75 for his career. Like I would say expect that. And if it's better than that, great. Like, and a 3.75, if you're really worried about a guy having a 3.75, like your expectations are too high. Like for what his role is with this team. Like that's too much. He's supposed to be the 5th starter. If your 5th starter has a 3.75, you have the best staff in big leagues, period. End of story. So that's what I would say about Quintana. Like, don't worry about it. He'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Look, if he's got a 6 ERA in June, talk to me about Peterson. Because I thought Peterson had a great year last year. Longevity was a bit of an issue. Didn't go that deep into games a whole lot. But his K rates were up. I mean, Tyler, how many times are we betting on Peterson? Like, over 4.5 strikeouts?
Yeah, I remember those texts we were yesterday.
7 in the 4th inning. K rate was up. Also, though, would kind of hit a wall in like the late 5th, early 6th inning. give up some crucial long balls. I remember a game against Atlanta where he was zooming, 5th inning rolls around, Olsen just
screwed him
to center.
I will never forget the ump for that game. That's still
or even the game I was at, Mets Dodgers, where they actually won the game. Peterson, Buck pulled him in the middle of the at bat against Mookie because Mookie hit a foul ball where he just dicked it, pulled it down to left field, was just a little early, and then Buck pulled him mid AB. I forgot who he put in, but it ended up working out. So yeah, Peterson, that's my big concern with him. Stuff's great. I think, what we've seen is a steady progression where he's gotten better every year, which is so important when you're a young pitcher. It's just a matter of he's getting better. Now, can he start to go deeper? But Rick, I thought you brought up a great thing, and you took the word out of my mouth when you talked about working on sequences in spring training. For me, my big thing, my whole life, up until probably I was 2021 even, I was never would never throw anything but a first pitch fastball ever. I was always first pitch fastball. Let me get ahead because I know I could throw my fastball wherever I want to. And then I'll work in my slider, which was always my out pitch, or I'll work in whatever, other stuff I've got going on. Spring training, exhibition games, this is always the time to be like, hey, I want to see if I can throw a first pitch slider because we're playing, these guys early in the year. They know my tendencies. They know I throw first pitch fastballs all the time. Let me see if I can get my slider over for a first pitch strike because I never want to fall behind 1-0. It's always the most important thing is strike one. Let me see if I can do it with my slider. Let me see if I can do it with a splitter, or maybe I'm working on a cutter or a sinker. That's what spring training is for.
Yep.
It's for all those trials and tribulations. So
spring training 2014, I believe it was, Fernandez with Miami. God rest his soul. Throws me a changeup, right on right changeup. He never did that before, the year before.
Right.
Threw me a right on right changeup, and I swung over top of it, and I looked back, I was like, changeup? And I looked out, and he's just smiling at me. He knows. He's like, yeah, man, I'm just messing around. Sorry about it. Take that. And I'm like, what was that? Get out of here.
I'm trying to make the damn team, Jose.
Yeah, come on, guy. You're already, But yeah, it was literally you just made me look stupid. But that's what pitchers do. They're out there, working on stuff. They're literally working on, and it's sometimes it's funny to them because it's yeah, I've never thrown this before. I'm gonna try it. What the heck? Because that is the time to do it. So yeah, stuff happens in spring training. I don't even, especially first outing. I don't care at all. This guy's literally just trying to feel like he can throw competitive pitches again for this start. Next start, a little more serious. By the third start, now he's trying to get guys out. And then, by the 5th or 6th start, it's yeah, we're ready for this regular season. But
right. And also when it comes to Quintana, it's his roster spot's safe. So he can afford to toy around a little more. The guy, as spring training progresses, because I'll admit right now, I'm not watching. Even with the Mets on ESPN, I put him on today for 5 minutes and then was all right, gambling show. Because it's that time of year in college hoops.
Oh, who wants to watch the ESPN?
Oh, I don't watch it.
I've had to endure it completely the past 2 days.
Yeah.
It has been exactly what you'd expect.
Yeah,
exactly what you'd expect.
It's rough.
So bad.
But I was all right, it's accessible. Let me put it on. It lasted not even 5 minutes. It was like a college freshman. It did not last 5 minutes. But when we get later into March, what I want to see is the guys who are actually fighting for roster spots. That's the only part of spring training ball that I care about. I want to see the relievers trying to be the 6th, 7th guy. I want to see how McGill looks coming off an injury that consumed most of last year. Those
Ronnie
are the
Mauricio,
guys
Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos.
Should we get into Ronnie Mauricio?
Yes.
That's why I said it.
I love it.
Yes, dude. Ronnie, again, Rec, shout out to you. You said that's the guy that you're most excited to watch that spring, see how he's doing. And his first one of 2 nukes is 450 feet, 110 exit velo, an absolute bomb. He stated after that game, this was just a couple days ago, he stated after that game that he hit one 500 feet in the minors last year, which he did. And it's actually absurd. Ronnie Mauricio, you could see he's juiced. He's around, I think he weighs, if I'm not mistaken, he's around 220 now. This guy, when the Mets originally signed him, was around 160 or so. He's just absolutely massive. People were saying this is Yordan Alvarez out here. Now, I'm not going to go that far. But, there's a lot to like about this kid, and for good reason, not coming off of course, the MVP, the Dominican Winter League. He also looked very good with the glove today in the little spurts that he had in the second half of the game when he was subbed in there at shortstop for Lindor. And then you have not only him, but Brett Beatty. Brett Beatty, his first 5 at-bats between the intra-squad game and then spring. He got on base in his first 5. He was 5 for 5 in all different reasons. He has at least 1 bomb already. He drove in another run today, a couple RBIs. He's batting like 571 or something to start spring. Not that it means anything, but it's just nice that the guys that are grinding, that are getting their career started, that are either trying to crack the roster, or even the guys, and we'll get into them after the prospect discussion, and the Almontes, the Stewarts, and the LeCasters of the world. I know you might not love some of those names. The point I'm trying to make, Timmy LeCaster's nice.
Almonte, that's the only one when someone lies to your face, you're kind of over it. Like,
that's fine.
Good with that guy.
No, that's fine. I'm
Give
just
me
saying.
LeCastro. Give me a guy who can swipe a bag when you need it.
LeCastro, absolutely.
All the guys that are like those 4th outfielder types that will be in AAA, they're all off to a hot start as well this spring. But let's start with Ronnie Mauricio. Rec, again, I'll let you take it away. What are your raw thoughts about him? And do you think, again, I've been asked this a lot, Mauricio, he's playing his way into, trying to crack this roster. Is he trying to crack this roster? Yes. Is he going to? No. I just don't foresee a world where that happens.
Flat out no.
Flat out no. But I want to ask you, how do you feel about him? Because it looks like he's continuing to do what he did back in the Dominican Winter League, which is always a great sign.
Yeah, I mean, look, hitting this early in spring, it's weird, the cycle of spring training, the way it works. Hitters come in, and for whatever reason, I feel like we're always locked in early. Like in those inter-squad games that we play, and then we get out here, first couple spring training games, like hitters have the advantage. Because like I said earlier, pitchers are getting their feet wet. They're just throwing stuff. Like they're not really locked in yet. Like they're competitive. Don't get me wrong. Like no pitcher's going out there trying to give up bombs. But they're also not like attacking you in a way of, oh, I know this is his weakness, I'm going to go straight to it. Like that's just not. Why do that? Like, why show your hand right now? That's just silly. I'm going to work on me. I'm going to make sure I'm right. And then when it comes time to get you out for money, I'm going to get you out. And that's the way like it works. So I don't put like really any stock in offensively in what's going on right now. I love it. I love to see it. It's good to see these guys put in work in the offseason. You could tell they're locked in. That's awesome. To me, with Mauricio, I just want to see him defensively. I want to see him continue to go out there, put in the defensive time, and I want to see how consistent he can be out there, because that's the question mark, right? Like nobody is really questioning whether or not this guy is going to be able to like stand off, offensively in the Major League Baseball. No one's really worried about that. Could it be an issue down the road? But yeah, maybe. Who knows? But that's not what people are worried about. Okay, this kid needs to get defensively efficient, and that's all I want to see. So to me, get the innings, like keep having success. I hope you do offensively. It's great. It's never a bad thing as whether it means something or not. Like the fact that it doesn't mean anything, that doesn't mean anything, because this is good for him. It's giving him confidence. Like when I had success in spring training early in my career, it was like, yeah, this feels great. I can do this. So yeah, it's always a good thing. I'm glad to see it. Again, I just want to see him go out there and perform defensively. Beatty, love seeing it. Vientos, even like he's had some success already. Like, I mean, he has a couple of times now. So I love seeing these guys doing well. I just want to see them all defensively continue to make strides and continue to get better.
Rec, if you had to pick, and I know it's early and they both, probably are going to go down to AAA to start the year. Mauricio, Beatty, who would you invest more? Who would you prioritize for the future of the Mets? I've kind of been Team Mauricio since last year, and it's not a knock on Beatty. He's hitting well too. But what I'm seeing from Ronnie, I mean, it's early. Spring training doesn't matter. But more so what I saw in the Dominican Winter League from Ronnie. Like, I really Bleav he's a piece to hold on to. My question is, where? Is it third? Is it second? Yeah. Is it left? But I think Ronnie's a piece to hold on to.
Yeah, when I think about these two, it's okay. When we're talking about something like this, it's like, okay, where's their floor? Where's their ceiling? I think Beatty's floor is higher. Like I think you're going to get consistent at bats. He's got a very mature approach at the plate. He's looking for his pitch. He knows what he likes to do. He knows how to work counts. Those kinds of things. Mauricio's very aggressive. Like you're not gonna throw a lot of pitches, near the zone that he's not going to attack. And because of that, he's going to struggle with some inconsistencies at times. There's going to be ups and downs. That brings his floor down. Like, so realistically, these major league pitchers, what's that?
Jose Reyes was like that when he was young. I mean, he swung at
100%.
But he also was a game changer.
Game changer. And that's where the ceiling, Mauricio's got the higher ceiling. Like the power that you see, the athleticism that he has, the strength that he's built, The fact that he is aggressive, but if you can take that aggressive nature and just not bring it back, but hone that aggressiveness into what you do well, Ronnie, like what you hit well, what you hit for power, do it at the right time in at bats, those kinds of things. It's not about taking it away at all. I remember talking to Curtis Granderson one year, 2014. He was it 14 or 15? He was having like his numbers weren't like off the charts or anything, but I think it was 15 because it was second year with the team. But every at bat he had was good. Like every at bat you just saw, he never went out of his zone. He never did anything like to fall behind in the count. And when he made contact, it was hard contact. Like he swung and missed a lot, but that's just part of his game. But he made and I asked him, I said, what are you doing, Kurt? What's going on? And he's like, honestly, I'm more aggressive than I ever have been in my career, but I'm just more aggressive to my pitch this year. I've really like kind of locked in on that. And I know where I want to, I know where I want the ball, and I'm 100%. I'm swing, no, swing, no, swing, yes. Like, and that's that mentality. It's really hard to teach, but Ronnie has the ability to do that. If he can take his aggressive mindset and then hone it in, I think his ceiling's higher. So to me, it's, you don't really want to invest in either of these guys yet, right? But I understand the question. And to me, it's like, I appreciate that ceiling, that potential. That's what like gets me excited, because those are the guys who are game changers. Not to say that Beatty can't be, but I just think Ronnie has the ability to be that guy. And to me, that's the guy that I would invest in.
Right. And when I say invest, I don't mean like, hey, sign him to a 12-year deal tomorrow.
Yeah, I know
what I mean is trade deadline rolls around. If you need a significant piece, I'll always go back to the guy we always talk about. If Ohtani is on the table and it's going to be a big package, you can only hold on to one of those guys most likely.
Yep.
Who do you? For me, I try to hold on to Mauricio.
Yep.
In the same way that I also I would not trade Alex Ramirez rule,
because Mauricio's also more interchangeable. You can move him to the outfield potentially. You can move him to third base. You could keep him at shortstop.
Looking at four positions. Yeah.
Where's Beatty going to play? He's going to play third,
DH,
left field. Like there's not a lot that
And I don't like Beatty's glove. I just don't like his glove at all. Didn't he
I
make
don't know enough about it yet. I don't know enough about it yet. I mean, I think he's going to be fine, but I just think that Ronnie gives you that total package, like where he could be, like you said, like a game changer. He really can play so many positions. He could do so much for you. Offensively, he could be a juggernaut. He can run the bases. Like he can do a lot potentially. And to me, that just means so much more.
He's a 5-tool guy. And by the way, to the people in the comments pointing out his OBP, like I said before, Jose Reyes, he was a no OBP guy when he came up, still had that game-changing potential.
And that's what we're talking about, maturity. Like you want him just to mature into that. Like don't take away the aggressiveness, just hone it in.
I mean, how old is Mauricio? Can he even drink yet? What is he, 20, 21 maybe?
He's young.
Around there. Yeah.
And by the way, Francisco Lindor, looking at Mauricio, that 300 OBP, career average in the minors is 260. So it's a 40-point difference. Not great. Francisco Lindor, his rookie year, now he had a higher batting average. He hit 313, but his OBP was 40 points higher than his average. Last year, it was 90 points higher. Yep. I mean, this is stuff with maturity and his Lindor's career OBP, 70 points higher. I mean, this is stuff that can be improved upon, can be taught with maturity. Mauricio, that game-changing ability, it just as Grant's pointing out in the comments, 21 years old, that can't be taught. You're that guy or you're not. And Mauricio, I think he's that guy.
See, it was really interesting to hear your comments, both of you guys favoring Mauricio essentially, because I'm the complete opposite. So I like to have this convo because for me, the past couple of years, Mauricio, I've always been like, if you're going to trade a top prospect, I'd rather he be in that mix, at least up until what we've seen more of recent of him, because he was coveted highly from the beginning. And then he really started to teeter off a little bit. Like he hasn't taken those strides in the minor leagues to the same length as some others that are in the core group of the Mets top prospects hitters wise I would have liked to see over the past 2 years. Again, the Winter League's great. Don't get me wrong, but I look at Mauricio with the low OBP, for example. I don't think that's a big thing to be concerned by because he has all the time in the world to figure that out. I think what very well could happen and may be a likely thing for him, though, is that he finds himself in a Ahmad Rosario situation where he just always is kind of an low OBP guy, but can be high contact as well. Can barrel the ball
last year. I don't know. Rosario had a great year with Cleveland.
But
and not to mention that this guy has the potential to hit 30. Like,
yeah. Oh,
you don't have power like
power
that.
is going to change him. The power is what's changing him. This was initially when the Mets signed him as an international prospect. They viewed him as a high power guy initially. Now you wouldn't think that when you saw his stature because he was only like $160, but also there were some internal things going on with him over the past year that have been not necessarily rectified, but better with some home life. So there were factors that were going on outside of baseball that were taking impact on his daily routine, his regimen, his diet, things of that nature.
He's also 20 and in Double-A last year.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. Like, Double-A was that jump. Like, that's, I mean, this was years ago when I first got to Double-A, but that was the jump. Like, other than obviously the big leagues, Double-A is an animal. Like, it's just different. I mean, I also played in the Texas League and in Midland, Texas, which is an awful place to hit. But like, that was a awful place to live too. Sorry if anyone's from Midland, Texas. That place, like that league, it was unlike anything I'd seen up to that point. It was like, okay, now everyone's good. Like you're not going to get that, slap guy out there just tossing stuff in. Like, oh yeah, I'll just sit on a heater. He can't throw a breaking ball for a strike. No, these guys can throw a breaking ball for strikes. They got nasty stuff. Like they can come at you. They're not afraid to come in. All that. Ronnie did it. Like he had a really good year in Double-A last year at 20. I'm sorry, but to me that means this kid. I don't care that like a couple years ago he wasn't doing it. He was 18. Like 20, he did it. 21, he looks even better. Like this kid is going to be good.
I always cared more about Double-A than Triple-A when you look at stats, because Triple-A, it's a weird place. It's like you get in between guys who are just career minor leaguers who might be 32 years old and just can't cut it in the bigs. The guy's getting sent down. Like Triple-A is a weird spot. Double-A, everyone's serious because pretty much, not to sound ageist or whatever, anyone could slant this as, but like everyone's pretty much young. And Double-A, everyone's on the up. Triple-A, you get people that are on the down, on the decline. And
Double-A is when I realized Double-A, I got it through. That's when I realized, oh, like I could actually be a big leaguer. Like,
right.
Wow, like this is cool. Like that's like to your point about being serious. Then to your other point about AAA, to me, if you took AA and AAA and combined the two adjustments you have to make, that is the big leagues. AA is the physical adjustment. It's like these guys are all really, really good. AAA is the mental adjustment. That's when it's like some of these guys are hanging on. They're not as good anymore, but they know how to get me to get myself out. Like, so it's a different game. And so spending too much time in AAA like I did, I think is not a good thing for guys. But if you get that little bit of AA and then that little bit of AAA, it's two different experiences. Now it's become different in the last few years. Like there's so many prospects that are throwing 100 billion miles an hour now. I remember playing against the Pirates AAA back in like 2016, and they had every single guy that came out of there was 96, 97 to 101. Actually, they had, I can't think of his name, long last name, was throwing 102 mile an hour cutters. And I'm like, no, like I'm good. What are we doing in AAA here? Like, let's go. They had a big league staff. So it's a little bit different now. But all that said, like those were the kind of adjustments that you have to make over those years. And I think Ronnie has already proven the physical adjustment in AA was nothing. It's going to be interesting to see how he handles some of the mental adjustment in AAA. But if he kills it this year in Syracuse, I look to him as being an impact bat this year. Like I think he could come up and do some damage for this team.
And I'm not disagreeing that Ronnie has the talent and what he's done at his age. I think that might have gone misconstrued there. Me personally, I've just always favored Beatty. I think you look at Beatty, he's the top third base prospect in baseball aside from what they got over there in Baltimore. I think he doesn't only just have the best floor. I do think he has the highest ceiling. I really do think he, even at his peak, is going to be more than what you guys think with Mauricio. And that's not to argue. That's just my personal opinion from what I've seen with Beatty. I think defensively is where you have a better argument, just because at short, he does look smooth. Beatty doesn't look smooth at third. And he's looking in spurts today, like in a small sample size, looked perfectly fine with the normal routine plays, especially charging in on the ball and
he
tossing
looks so
it
awkward
first.
Over there.
It's not awkward in the way like what I've seen with Vientos or even like JD, for example. But there is an awkwardness. Like he's definitely
like
not
my height too. Isn't Beatty like really tall?
He is
like
tall.
3'6'4". Like
he's at
third
least
basemen
6'4".
that are like 6'3", 6'4". I don't really like it at that position. I don't know. Rec, what do you think? You're an experienced third baseman yourself.
Scott Rowland was like 6'5". Dude was pretty
he that
good.
Big?
Yeah, he's a monster. He was huge.
I know Machado's
isn't Machado pretty big? Yeah,
Machado's
like,
tall.
I mean,
like,
Correa
I think
would have
like
been
David
at the hot
Wright,
corner
Ryan
perfectly fine.
Zimmerman, like those guys were like 6 feet.
I
6
get
foot
what you're
tall.
saying
Yeah.
though. That a lot of third basemen are usually, you see them around like 6'1", 6'2".
It's that first step as a third baseman. Like you just have to have a good first step. And long guys don't always have that body control with that good first step. Obviously, Machado was a shortstop, a little bit different animal.
Right.
Roland was just phenomenal. But like to your point, Eric Chavez, 6 foot, like 6'1", like, but super athlete for great
Wright
first
might
step.
be 5'11" if we're being honest.
Wright was, he's 5'11", 6 foot, somewhere in there. I'll give him 6 foot. Like, I don't want to, it's David Wright. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So I think, and someone's commented this in the chat, and I agree. I think pure athleticism, Ronnie, you could give him the favoritism there. Yeah, I'm not going to argue that. I just think pure bat to ball skills, and even if Beatty becomes a corner outfielder, if that is where he's best for the remainder of his career, I just think the bat is going to be so good. I might be juicing him up. Like, I don't know. Like, I was a little taken back to hear from you guys that you would prefer Beatty, like, kind of without a doubt, in a trade over Mauricio. Well, I find that a little baffling, but I like the fact
what's
that
fun,
we have the disagreement.
What's fun for this team is that we can actually have that conversation now about potentially trading a guy.
Yep.
And it's also fun because everyone was so angry last year that they didn't trade one of these prospects. And I get it. Like, I understand. That said, where they find themselves this year with guys who look this good early and potentially could it be impact players, they might not need to make a single deadline deal because they might have the pieces they need in-house. Like, they have a guy who can play short. They have 2 guys who could potentially get moved to the outfield. They have a catcher / first baseman / DH, whatever he is, who could potentially hit 50 at one day in the big leagues. Like, they've got Vientos, like, looks like a monster. Like, this guy could be a DH if he can, get a little better at third base, could be a third base. Like, they have so many options. And to me, that's such a good thing that it negates the fact that, they didn't go out and do it last year. Well, you know what? They're in such a good spot this year. I don't think people understand. Like, I was doing a good dive on the Braves the other day on MLB Tonight, just about kind of their prospects and where they're at. Not prospects as in their players, prospects for the season. And they have depth. Like, it's a very good team. They're starting, their starting lineup, their starting rotation. The bullpen's really good. Like, they're obviously a very good team. We all know that. But when I look at the Mets and the depth that they've put together on the position player side, in the starters and in the bullpen, like, with some of these guys who have options, the Mets are very well set up organizationally this year for maneuvering throughout the course of the season to handle injuries, to handle underperformance, to handle anything that comes at them. They still don't have like those power bats necessarily right now in their starting lineup, but that said, outside of Pete, of course, and Lindor at times, outside of that though, like, this team is very well positioned because they might find that power, like I said, within the minor leagues, and they're in a great spot.
The depth is just oozing for this team right now. That was what I was most excited about heading into the year, not only from the rotation, and for those that are listening and don't know, we will be seeing the debuts of, we just saw Quintana, not great, but we will be seeing Verlander this Saturday and Senga this Sunday. So if you want to make sure you're going to chime in to one specific spring game, I highly suggest you watch at least one of those. Mine especially has to be Senga because, again, we've never seen this guy face, batters here in the MLB. So that's always going to be fun. But
he's been making his teammates look stupid so far.
Starling Marte looked bad today.
And he's touching 98 on the gun already. Like, within his first week there, he was already touching 95, 96.
When 98 miles or kilometers? Are they still measuring him?
Yeah. He was.
Wardy, I think you could hit 98 kilometers.
Yes, I would hope. Jesus. The mound he was struggling with initially when he came over, but it seems like he's feeling a little bit better there. Again, the baseballs are adjustment because MLB baseballs are quite a different feel than what they have in the MPB, but just very excited.
No, they actually attack on their ball over there. They're smart.
See, it's almost like having a universal substance that isn't going to give you ridiculous break in RPMs isn't a bad thing. I don't know. Call me crazy.
All right, Wardy, serious question. How hard can you throw a baseball?
I threw like 80 snowballs today, so I'm ready. Like my arm's good.
Oh right, you guys got snow up there, didn't you?
Yeah,
overnight?
we did. Yeah.
Yeah,
How much snow did you get, Rick?
Just like probably 2-3 inches. I don't even know, not much, but enough for the kids to go outside and play a little bit. They loved it, man. This is the first snow day they had. Like, I mean, they didn't even have off of school. They had a 2-hour delay, but like they got to go out a little bit early in the morning, and then again tonight we went out for a little bit, and it was fun. Just finally got out in the snow.
So to answer
anyway, how hard could you throw, Wardy? Don't avoid the question.
I honestly, I did a throwing contest with Eric Sim. If you guys know who he is on YouTube, love him, the former minor leaguer last year, and I think I topped out like 60. So not a whole lot going on there.
Ooh, I don't know if you could throw 98. So 61 miles per hour would be 98 kilometers. So that might be where you're maxing, Wardy.
That might be where I'm at, and that's okay. I'm not complaining. But
Wardy, we're gonna have to work on the core strength and some.
Let me put it this way:
mobility.
there's a reason why I stopped.
Gotta have you doing
playing
Russian
baseball.
twists with me, man. Get that core.
There's a reason why I stopped playing baseball like the age of 6, 7. You know,
dude, you could have been so good in Little League, though, man. No one would have hit your strike zone. It would have been like this.
No one. And again, I
always hated pitching to those. They were always the fucking leadoff hitters.
Oh, I know.
I was
whenever I play for fun, I purposely crouch down a lot too.
Oh man, I'd always walk those kids. I hated those guys.
Yeah,
I would have hated you back then, Ward.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't think much would have changed now if we did it.
And all you had to do was learn to foul off some balls, and then you got like no one's got a shot because eventually they're throwing 4 balls. Although in Little League, the strike zone is gigantic.
Nah, but I would have been throwing it like at your like chin level, Ward.
Yep.
Oh man, those little guys hitting lead off. I was like, just put them on, just like intentional walk without even, just let them get on and let me throw to the next kid.
If I actually played, like stayed through it, because I ended up not, because I had to sit down with my dad, and when we were younger, he's like, you're not good. Like, we should play a different sport, and I agree. I was scared of the baseball. I was that kind of kid. So then I transitioned to soccer, and then I played travel. I was very good at soccer growing up. I was a speedster. So that's the thing. If I would have excelled at anything with baseball, I would have been, that pinch running king. I would have been the Terrence Gores out there. That is where I envision myself, is exactly in that role. And that's
Terrence Gore. I mean, now you're comparing yourself. What are you saying? Like you're like the Freeze over down in Atlanta?
Yeah,
I mean,
I could be Terrence Gore, a 3-time World Series champion, by doing absolutely nothing. Is what I'm saying. So
wild.
Just compared himself to one of the fastest people I've ever seen.
I know. That's
I was you guys should have. I'm not as fast as what I once was, but when I was actually like active and playing that,
I ain't as good as I once was.
No. All right, one last thing I want to get into, and then we'll wrap things up. Relievers. I told you guys how much I'm looking forward to watching relievers throughout spring, and there's 2 so far that I've seen that I really like in either 1 or 2 outings they've had. Zach Green is number 1, the Rule 5 pick. He's looking very sharp. And 2 is John Curtis, who the Mets signed last offseason, and then he had Tommy John was out all last year. Very, very good stuff. Like, just look comfortable right away. I mean, there was nothing getting this guy's way from getting a quick 3 out. So hopefully we see more of that. Then you have, the Brighams have looked solid. One guy who did not look good, however, like actually was terrible today, unfortunately, was TJ McFarland. So hopefully he gets, a better outing going forward. The lefties just didn't do good today. Quintana and McFarland were the only Mets pitchers today that gave up runs. The other like 5 or 6 right-hand relievers were all clean without a problem. But
both veterans, both guys who try to let you get yourself out in different ways.
Both guys who Rex probably caught at one point or another.
Yeah.
Never caught Quintana. Never caught Quintana. Did I face him? I don't know the answer to that. That I could have, but never played with him. You
could find that out, right? Is that like Googleable?
Probably. I don't know.
Anthony Record.
I want to say Baseball Reference has that, like batter versus pitcher stuff. By the way, I know we're doing a podcast. I've had the Duke game on here.
Oh, me too.
It was 65-53, and now it's like it's a game. I mean, they're gonna hold it off. Yeah, they're gonna hold off.
NC State just missed a 3 that would have really made it a game.
I know.
Wait, by the way, Ward, you see that comment? You see that comment about you and me racing?
No.
So yeah, someone put in the comments, I'd like to see Wardy against Long Legs Joe.
Oh, I'm smoking you. Every day.
No
of the week.
shot. No
Every
shot.
day of the week.
I'm killing you.
Every day of the week.
Dude, I'm just going to interject one thing.
What?
Since we've already touched on it. Joe takes one stride.
Doesn't matter. You think I haven't
It
dealt
does
with that
matter.
before?
It does matter.
No, it doesn't matter
matter.
when you're fast. Okay.
It does matter.
40,
Doesn't
you and
matter.
I in
It
a
does matter.
40-yard dash.
You're acting like you're the first 6'5" guy I've raced with. You're not.
I'm 6'4".
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So
Why
maybe
not?
it's gonna be quite the difference maker. No.
I'd smoke you.
I did see, you know what I saw the other day? Jordan Walker, big prospect for the Cardinals.
Very big problem.
They were talking about his media guide like stats. Like, you know how they always have your height and weight. There's not many guys that you ever played with, whether it was little league all the way up to the big leagues, that you ever heard of where their numbers were less than what they actually are.
Yes.
I don't remember what his actually says, but I know like
He's
it's
like
basically they were saying
6'6".
he's like 6'6", 250. Like
Yep.
he's Judge Stanton type size. But I guess the media guide has him smaller. I don't know if he grew later or what. I don't know. But it was just funny when I saw that, because in my head I'm thinking I could count on like one hand how many times that's happened. Like where a guy's bigger than it says he is in the media guide. Maybe weight, I get that. Like some guys cut it down.
Yeah, I mean, I always had 6'5" in the media guides.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I was. Well, no, I was 6'2", and I am 6'2", so that was legit. But
Yeah, I had 6'5", 190. In reality, 6'4".
you were giving yourself a few pounds there, Joe.
Gave myself 10 pounds.
You did.
Gave myself
Joe,
an inch and 10 pounds.
Joe, all
Yeah.
I know is that either when you're back in town or when I go to LA.
We're
this year-
racing.
Oh, we're
Someone's pulling a hammy.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Probably
One of
me.
you is just pulling a hammy.
I'm
You know what we're
probably
gonna do?
honestly,
We're all gonna race. I'm
honest-
gonna race you,
okay.
you clowns.
Honestly,
I
I'll
wanna get in
probably
on this.
dislocate my hip. I dislocated my hips 3 times, once from soccer and twice from fitness and competition.
All right,
So,
I was going to say twice.
I'm like-
I can't say that on the air.
No, you can't say it on the air.
Oh, babe, my head.
All
How
right.
old are you?
That's a good place
22?
to end
Come
it.
on, Wardy.
What? I'm pigeon-toed, if you know what that means. I'm literally
even more
pigeon-toed.
reason I'm going to smoke your ass.
No, I'm not even joking. No, I'm pigeon-toed. I have been in the past when I would run. So my feet, instead of like just being forward or just a little bit outward, they would turn slightly in. And then if one step a little bit too much, like I'm bolting down the line. I was striker for the years I played soccer. And then one time I was going down the line, I just turned my foot a little too in and pop right out. Yeah, not fun.
You see this in the comments. Wardy's already making excuses.
No,
Yep.
no, I'm not.
Truth.
I'm not.
I
Thank
want
you,
to
Ray.
pitch to you, Wardy. I want to see if I could pinpoint that strike zone of yours.
No, I'm gonna just lay on the dirt.
Yeah. Well, you did
I
that,
guess
right?
I'm the de facto catcher in this situation.
I
Of course
mean,
you are.
given the fact that, it's kind of what you did.
I pitched too. Played third base. Sorry about it.
Big third baseman. Ian Desmond loves you as a pitcher.
He does. I love him as a hitter. Good for him. Good with that.
How tall
How
is
many times
Wardy?
did you pitch? Was that
I'm
your
5'5".
only time?
That was my only time in the big leagues.
What did you get clocked
Only
at? I could probably go back and find that. Do you know?
I don't. 80 something. I don't know.
Oh, you were in the position players never hit the 80s when they pitch.
I wasn't. If I threw the ball 50 miles an hour, it wasn't going to be in the zone. I can't do that. Like I'm not that guy that can just be like, oh, look at me. Like I can't do that. It doesn't work. If I don't throw the ball at least a little bit, like I'm
Right.
sure I probably hit some like low 70s and stuff. I don't know, but like if I don't at least throw it a little bit, not a strike.
Yeah.
Not a strike.
I get that. Can't just like
I know.
paint an ephus over there.
No.
Yeah.
I would have hit like I would have done the was it D Gordon that hit Travis Darno and he fell down
Oh,
this year? Was it D Gordon? I feel like it was D Gordon. I don't know.
who's D even with
it's-
right now? Is he? And his last
Someone hit Travis with like a 50-mile-an-hour ephus pitch and he just crumbled to the ground. Ha ha, funny. But that would have been me. Like I would have hit somebody throwing that slow. It's not
What's
good.
D Gordon's last name? Is it Strange Gordon?
Yeah, D Strange Gordon.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Someone said Wardy against Vogie. All right, that's an insult. Come on.
That's
Really?
That's not an insult. Bogey moves, man. Big
Vogie
dude
moves,
moves.
but-
Well,
When he gets going-
you have the first
Let
step.
me put it.
When
The
Vogie
only
picks up
reason why
steam.
I had success in sports growing up, and I did have a decent, reasonable amount of success was because of my speed. I mean, even as a striker, the only reson why I made my travel clubs is because I was fast.
Hold on.
That was the only reason.
Rec, what are you doing with the tongue? You see the tongue when you get that ball back from the catcher?
I'm having fun out there, Joe. Like
you got that
feeling
ball back,
myself,
and you
man.
were like, "I'm Anthony Recker, professional sex icon." You got that ball back from the catcher, and you were just like,
"Bro, I was feeling myself right there."
Yeah,
I was pitching in a big league game.
I think a few
Joe.
women
like,
were too when they saw that.
Do you understand what I was doing? Like, you should have heard
felt-
Ricky
you felt
Bonus,
like
by
hot
the
shit
way.
is what you
Ricky
felt like.
Bonus was in the bullpen telling me I was hitting mid-90s.
Dude, fucking
Swear to God.
first
He was
pitch,
like, dude,
86.
you're pumping 95. Like, you're pumping 96. Like, I
First
was
pitch,
like,
86.
yeah, I am. Let's go. Like,
This is wild.
Awesome.
First pitch, 86. Fly out to center
Was it
field,
really?
can of corn. No,
See,
not
look
first
at that.
pitch. I'm sorry, first out. It was an 8-pitch AB. You were battling out there. 8-pitch AB.
gotta do what you gotta do. Gotta get those outs, baby.
Out number 2 was 85.
See? And that was just, throwing strikes. Let me
Yeah.
get on one. Let me get on a little bit.
84. Nice. Oh,
I
wow.
had an arm.
EY was playing left.
Yeah.
I loved him.
Why wouldn't you?
That guy.
EYJ? He's a man.
That guy had wheels.
He's is he still first base coach for the Nats?
Junior?
He
I
was
thought his
last
dad
year.
was the first base coach.
Or
His
am I
dad
getting-
is the first base coach for the Braves.
Yeah, that's where. He was. I know he was with the Nats last year at first base. I don't know if he's still there though. That's why I asked.
Carl says, I thought we were talking about relievers. We are. Anthony Recker was a reliever. Carl
Yeah.
was the 9th inning when he came in.
Boom. That's right.
Bobby G says before we get out of here, I know Thursday is garbage night, but was Monday or Tuesday the other garbage night?
Monday night is the night I take out the garbage. Tuesday night is the night I take out the recycling. Thank you, Bobby.
Oh.
Although, you know what? I have,
You have
because
to
I
take
forgot
them
to
out
take the
2
garbage
separate
out last
days?
night. Because I forgot to take the garbage out last night. I have garbage in one can, and then I have leaves and like yard stuff in the other can. So I don't even know where I'm going to put the recycling tonight, especially because it's just there's slush and crap out there
That's
too. It's
bizarre
gonna
to
be
me. I
fun.
didn't know that you have to have recycling out one day and trash the next. Normally that's at the same time for me.
Really?
It's
Yeah.
localized. Depends on
Yeah.
we do. So where I live, it's township does recycling, or our
Uh-huh.
city, town, whatever you want to call it. It is a township. But we have to outsource the trash. So that is
okay.
a separate company.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
We're getting into some really
Yeah.
heavy, hard hitting stuff here, guys.
Yeah,
And
this is
that's
this is
why
dad
it is-
talk. This is
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's
this is like we've had two beers at the bar. Like, all right, it's garbage night. I gotta head home.
all right.
Next
Final
week we'll talk
remarks
about
before we wrap
taxes.
things up. Final comments? Anything? You done?
I can't wait to smoke both of you in a race.
Not happening. Not
No
happening.
chance.
All right.
Daddy long legs.
You think-
emphasis on
You
daddy.
think you're faster than half of the big leagues? Because this guy right here was like 50% speed.
I do.
you know?
I'll take
Average
that
big
bet.
league speed.
Rec, I will never say I'm stronger than you, but I am definitely faster than you.
We'll find out.
I'll be stronger than you when I have a kid and that dad strength kicks in. You know, it's a real thing.
That's also
Joe.
true.
I know I might have a kid out there already. I know what you were gonna say, Rec.
All right, guys, that's gonna do it for episode 49 of Bleav in
Oh.
Queens. We will be back next week to dissect a couple more games for the team in Queens, even though they're in Port St. Lucie right now. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe on. Check out Joe Sorrell at the Sorrell Sports Talk podcast, coming out weekly. Always having great guests on and doing great things there. Make sure to check out Anthony Recker on MLB Tonight when you're not watching him here. And we'll talk to you guys again real soon. Let's go, Mets. Peace out, guys.